So my plan for 2023 got thrown out the window just 3 weeks in, and you'll get to know why by the end of this video.
Several months ago at dinner in South Africa, the topic of belief came up, and for long I've been intrigued by this thought experiment by Alan Watts. The idea goes like this.
Close your eyes and imagine that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream, and that you could have the power within one night to dream 75 years of time. As you began on this adventure of dreams, you would fulfill all your wishes. You would have every kind of pleasure and you would achieve anything you could conceive. And after several nights of 75 years of total pleasure each, you would say, well,
that was pretty great.
But it gets a bit boring, so now let's have a surprise. Let's have a dream which isn't under control, where something is going to happen to me and I don't know what it's gonna be. You'd add some hurdles in your dream, some challenges, some small and some challenges too big. That would be exciting and you'd wake up and say, wow, that was a close shave, wasn't it? You'd get more and more adventurous and you'd make further and further out gambles on what you would dream. And finally, you would dream where you are now.
You would dream the dream of living the life you're actually living today. I don't know why you watching this video would be a part of that dream though, but here we are. When things are going well, it's easy to believe that this life is a dream we've built up for ourselves. On a training camp in South Africa,
paradise on earth,
everything was going to plan. After a couple of months of struggling with injuries in training, things were really starting to loosen up. I was fast, I was strong, and I was feeling great. On off days, we'd go on safari and eat great food. And contrasting my life with the surrounding troubles in the country, I was almost feeling too privileged to take this dream theory to heart. And then I met some bumps myself. While preparing for my final session down in South Africa, I started to feel some pain in my ankle. I didn't think much of it at first, maybe I just strained it in training, but it got worse and worse, and by 1 AM, I couldn't walk, I could not sleep, I barely could even move my leg. My ankle was full of fluids, so I headed to the hospital first thing in the morning. After 7 hours of collecting samples and x-rays, it turned out I had something in my ankle called reactive arthritis, caused by some food poisoning that I had caused my own immune system to overreact and attack my ankle. The reason for this reaction is not known, and it only happens to about 7 out of 20,000 people in a year. So talk about good luck. I had to be put in a wheelchair for our 30-hour cancellation-riddled trip home. And upon arrival, my condition kept worsening. A pitting edema led my doctor to fear blood clotting of my leg, and also increasing bodily inflammation was not a good sign. You'd normally want a CRP below 7, and mine was above 100. I was sent to the hospital for another 24 hours to finally get the same diagnosis once again. Even though there was no further bugs or infections in my ankle, the prognosis for the reactive arthritis is not really good. If you're lucky, the symptoms can disappear within 6 weeks. But if you're unlucky, it can take up to 6 months, and it can even become chronic if you're super unlucky. It can start to go away and come back and so forth, so it's really hard to have a planned progression like you can do with other injuries like tears and stuff like that. I had a plan set in stone for this year. I had a training and competition plan that I thought might bring me to the world champs, and now I might not even get a chance to attempt qualifying. Now back to South Africa. After telling my friends about this dream theory, we went out window shopping in the city center of Stellenbosch. We headed into a good-looking bookstore where a shiny book cover caught my eye. I didn't even bother to read the title, but I felt an urge to pick it up. I opened it up in the middle on a totally random page which read, "Life is a great and wondrous dream, as great and wondrous as we can possibly dream." Now, I'm not superstitious, but that's crazy. If you had asked me back in January at the hospital how I was doing, maybe I'd answer ironically, living the dream, not really believing it in the moment. This is of course not how I would say I wanted to start my 2023 6 months ago, but 6 months from now, maybe I'll say otherwise. Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius would say that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He says that there is no such things as problems, setbacks, or obstacles. There is no pre-made path, and what seems like an obstacle simply is an opportunity. In February, I was no longer allowed to train or run. I barely could even walk, and my indoor season got ruined. I still traveled to the meets I was supposed to compete at though, and I took the opportunity to work as a videographer and photographer. Of course, it sucks to be put in circumstances that you do not have any control over, but there is no use in resenting it. I could just be mad and angry for being put in this situation, or I can just accept this new path and make the best of this new challenge. Seneca even said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." The thought is that your capacity for happiness increases after forced or chosen adversity. Someday I'll look back at these photos knowing that it just made my life more interesting, because life is the obstacles, and I do truly believe that you cannot really appreciate the good times without them. When Thomas Edison's $30 million factory burned down in 1914, he told his son, "Go get your mother and all her friends, they'll never see a great fire like this again." He knew he'd be back at work rebuilding by tomorrow, so why not just enjoy it while it lasts? So here's my burning factory, my burning ankle in all its glory. Have you ever seen a foot this fat? At least we can appreciate that. So in my upcoming videos, I will be rebuilding this dream of mine, hopefully to something greater than what was planned before this change of paths. Subscribe to get notified when my ankle is ready to sprint once again. Thank you so much for watching, and an extra big thank you to the channel members and the Patreon Sprint Squad. I'll catch you guys somewhere else on Project Paris. Peace. Tough time never lasts. Only tough people last. Life's been giving me lemons lately. I didn't f***ing hell, I'm on tonic van.